Imagine a world without sadness, without anxiety, without anger. A world where every human mind is at perfect peace. This sounds like a utopia, doesn't it? Well, in 2026, we thought we had found it. A biotech behemoth, a company called Serenity Corp, announced the unimaginable, a cure for all mental illness. It called it the signal. It wasn't a pill or a therapy. It was a broadcast, a subtle, pervasive frequency that recalibrated the human brain, smoothing over the jagged edges of our psyche. The science was complex, something about mysterious neural patterns they had supposedly mapped from the healthiest, most stable minds on the planet. But honestly, no one really cared about the how. We only cared about the what. And what it did was nothing short of a miracle. Within days, the world changed. The relentless noise of human suffering just stopped. Crime rates plummeted to zero overnight. Global conflicts ceased, not with treaties, but with a collective silent understanding. People smiled more, worked harder, and were unfailingly polite. The stock market soared into a stable, predictable climb. Productivity went through the roof. We were building a better world, a perfect world. There was no more shouting, no more tears, no more desperate cries in the night. The world was quiet, eerily quiet. Humanity had become a well-oiled machine, its gears turning in perfect synchronized harmony. We were all so calm, so focused, so content. But was it contentment? Was it something else entirely? This is where our story truly begins, with a journalist named Alara. While the rest of the world basked in the glow of this newfound peace, Alara felt a persistent unease. This placid sea of humanity felt wrong. The laughter she heard on the streets sounded hollow. The smiles didn't quite reach the eyes. It was a perfect picture, but she suspected the frame was hiding something rotten. She saw art galleries close, not for lack of funding, but for lack of artists. Who needs to paint their sorrow when sorrow no longer exists? Who needs to write a song of heartbreak when hearts can no longer break? The spark of human chaos, the very thing that fueled our creativity and our passion, had been extinguished. Lara began to dig. She started with the public records, the patents, the sanitized press releases from Serenity Corp. It was a digital fortress, impenetrable. Every inquiry was met with a polite, automated response about the betterment of humankind. She interviewed former employees, but they were all as placid and unhelpful as everyone else, speaking in glowing terms about their time at the company. Their faces vacant. It was like trying to find a crack in a sphere of polished steel. This perfect world was becoming a prison for her curiosity. A quiet hell, where her professional skepticism was seen as a relic of a bygone messy era. But Alara wasn't like everyone else anymore. Something in her resisted the signal. Maybe it was a genetic quirk, or maybe her reporter's cynicism acted as a natural shield. She could still feel a flicker of the old world inside her, a ghost of frustration, a shadow of fear, and it was that fear that drove her forward. Her big break came from an anonymous source. A string of encrypted data slipped under her digital door. It was a blueprint, a partial schematic of Serenity Corp's central broadcast tower, the heart of the signal. More importantly, it contained a name, Dr. Uris Thorne, the lead neuroscientist on the project, who had officially died in a lab accident a month before the signal went live. The data hinted that his death was no accident. Lara knew she had to get inside that tower. Using the schematic, she found a weakness, a maintenance conduit, long forgotten and scheduled for decommissioning. It was her only way in. The plan was insane, infiltrating the most secure building on the planet, the very symbol of this new world order. But the thought of what she might find, the truth behind this global serenity, was a motivator stronger than any fear. The night she went in was still and silent, like every other night in this new world. She moved through the empty city streets, a ghost from a past age of urgency and adrenaline. The conduit was slick with grime, a relic of a messier time. Inside the tower, the contrast was jarring. The interior was pristine, sterile, and bathed in a soft, calming blue light. Automated drones hummed quietly, polishing already spotless floors. There were no guards, no security patrols. Why would there be? In a world without crime or dissent, the best security is the assumption of compliance. Using the information from her source, she navigated the labyrinthine corridors, her heart pounding a frantic. chaotic rhythm that felt alien in this temple of tranquility. She was a discordant note in a perfect symphony. Her destination was the core lab, Thorne's old office, which the schematics showed was now a sealed archive. The encryption on the door was beyond her skills, but her source had provided for that too. A simple audio file. She played it. It wasn't a code or a password, it was a recording of a baby crying. A raw, unfiltered sound of human distress. The advanced lock, designed to respond to the calm brainwaves of authorized personnel, short-circuited. The door hissed open. Inside, the room was a mess, a stark contrast to the rest of the tower. Papers were scattered. A whiteboard was covered in frantic equations and strange non-human diagrams. And in the center of the room was Thorne's terminal, still active. Ilara's hands trembled as she accessed his final video log. Dr. Thorne's face appeared on the screen. He was gaunt, terrified. A man from the old world. "If you're seeing this," he began, his voice raspy with panic, "then it's already too late. They found me. But you need to know the truth." He explained that Serenity Corp hadn't discovered the neural patterns. They had been received, a signal from deep space. He called them the gardeners. He said, "We thought it was the key to unlocking human potential, to ending suffering. We were fools. It's not a cure, it's a tool, sedative." The mysterious neural patterns weren't human at all. They were alien, a technology designed for pacification. The signal was suppressing the very core of human nature, our emotions, our ambition, our rage, our will to fight. Thorne's log continued, growing more frantic. He explained that the transmission wasn't a one-way gift. It was a preparatory wave. "They're not curing us," he choked out, tears streaming down his face. "They're taming us. It's plowing the field before they plant the seeds. They're preparing the cattle for the slaughter." The signal was designed to strip humanity of its most powerful and unpredictable weapon, its emotional volatility. Our capacity for irrational bravery, for desperate innovation, for righteous fury, all of it was being systematically erased. We were being turned into a docile, compliant workforce, ready for new management. The gardeners weren't coming to share the galaxy, they were coming to claim their farm. As the video ended with the sound of his lab door being breached, Ilara stared at the screen, the cold, horrifying truth washing over her. The peace, the productivity, the politeness, it was all a lie. It was the calm of the sheep before the shearer. Humanity hadn't achieved utopia. It had been placed in a planetary holding pen. They were our alarm system. They were our immune response. They were our only defense against the silent, creeping darkness that was now descending upon an unsuspecting Earth. And she was the only one who could still feel the fear, the only one left to scream. But in a world that had forgotten how to listen, would anyone even hear her? Thanks for watching. If this story gave you chills, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into the unknown. See you next time.